Went to a hockey game the other day, Joe, and a guy got hit in the side of the head with a Coke can. It's okay. It was a soft drink. It's a soft drink. I was thinking about this the other day. The shovel was a groundbreaking invention. Groundbreaking invention.
All right, now
the shovel.
Now we can start with the jokes before we start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Carnival Personnel.
I'm Jacques.
And I wish I was Joe.
Nobody wishes they were me.
I really do.
Not even me.
Not even you. And anyway, speaking of Joe, you having a good weekend? Anything big happening in your world?
Oh, no, nothing. I just got a new car. A 2020 Subaru Forester. Yeah.
And is the new car smell everything that you hope it would be?
I requested extra new car smell. That's how much I enjoy new car smell.
I remember in film school, a kid was pitching a whole story about like a dad who was hell-bent on keeping the new car smell as long as possible. He would like coordinate getting in the car and out of the car as quickly as possible just to maybe hold on to that for a little while longer.
Wow.
Are we happy with the purchase?
Let's just say that I drove over the bridge that I bought as part of the lease to get here. That joke was so much funnier in my head. It was much better constructed.
No, I got it. But you haven't had a new car in since
2013.
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What game show were you on this week?
I believe it was was it Super Password or $25,000? I wish it was. I was on Pyramid. That's an actual show that's on right now where you can win $150,000, but not for me. Nah. It just tapes in New York City, and it's a word game, and I'm bad at word games.
Who are the celebrities?
Oh yeah, Weird Al Yankovic.
Is he really?
What? Oh, I don't know. I thought you meant the imaginary episode that I went on.
No, I meant who are the actual. Who would be the?
Well, they had like Leslie Jones on there, and Anthony Anderson.
We
from
still miss her
Blackish.
on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, she has a new stand-up special out now. It's okay.
No, I mean, it's great that she's that busy. She moved on, but
she's actually, I think, hosting Supermarket Sweep's reboot. They're I'm not kidding. They're rebooting Supermarket Sweep,
okay,
and she's going to host. Yeah, yelling at the contestants.
Run!
You got 30 seconds. Find those breath mints.
The Melissa McCarthy, who
Tostitos, not Doritos,
who we absolutely love. They did a Supermarket Sweep skit a few weeks ago, or maybe it was like one point last season, where she like went in the back storage room and came out with like the whole tuna. And he's like, "That's sushi grade tuna. That's a 50-pound fish. That's worth." But she took the cash register. You got to get the most, because the whole idea is getting the most valuable items in your cart and stuff like that. Yeah. So, but no, good for her. So you got a new car. Management got her lease was up, and she traded in for a new used car. Literally drove down the street, making a sound, took it back, and like the manager's like, "Oh yeah, well that's not." He took it around the block. Goes, "Well, that's not right." It's like, thanks,
right?
So that was fun. Unfun news: a passing of a good time legend,
Jeanne Dubois. What was her name? Willona Woods.
She wasn't the one who burnt her daughter with the iron.
Dude, I didn't watch Good Times all that much.
Oh, there was a famous episode. It was with like Janet Jackson was the little girl who played on it, and like one of the people, and she hung out there a lot, and her mom was abused. Like literally to punish her, burnt her with an iron. Don't think it was that. I think that woman.
She was like the neighbor. Like she was like one of the neighbors that just come in, open the door, and just say hi, y'all. And somebody did a smash cut of every entrance that Willona did on Good Times.
Oh,
and it's
awesome.
like it's literally every single episode where she's doing an entrance. And it's like a 2-minute, 30-second video. Worth the watch.
Okay.
But Jeanne Dubois also is famous for singing, what was argued on the Howard Stern show this week as probably the greatest theme song of all time. The Jeffersons.
Oh, the Jeffersons.
She co-wrote and sang the theme to the Jeffersons. Well, moving on up.
I wonder, because we sang that
as Bernie Sanders like 2 weeks ago.
But don't we reference that like at one point, like, at one point, like, I'll say good time. No, that's good time.
That's good time. Temporary layoffs is good time. Yeah.
Don't see?
Easy credit ripoffs.
Don't. I wonder, interesting, because the Jeffersons theme gets used it's been used in lots of commercials and parodies. I wonder if she makes more money on residuals from that than being a second tier character in Good Times.
Yeah, I wonder how much what her deal was because it was the 70s,
right?
TV.
Well, TV
by then maybe,
but music was ahead of the curve as far as like licensing and residuals and stuff like that. We know that William Macy was owed a few checks that he never got because he was just before that sweet residual money in syndication and stuff like that.
What would you put as your top 3 theme songs?
I honestly, it has to be Good Times and probably the Jeffersons, Good Times,
Barney Miller,
and yeah, if we're going all.
What can you say with sitcoms? Let's stick with sitcoms because TV's kind of broad.
Well, I mean, all time maybe Cheers. Especially for the time it was on and how big it was in my world. Maybe The Simpsons.
Yeah, The Simpsons. You're right. It's just that's because it's been around for 30 years. It's almost like wallpaper now. It's it's a Simpsons song. It's nothing. It's iconic, and everybody knows it.
I always like the Family Guy but definitely no. Let's finish it. It's Welcome Back, Kotter.
It's not Greatest American Hero.
Believe it or not. No, I'm going Welcome Back, Kotter.
How about sing along?
I'm going Welcome Back, Kotter, The Jeffersons, and Good Times.
Okay. Yeah.
How can I be racist, Joe? 2 or 3 of my favorite sitcoms are African American based shows.
You're racist. You can be both.
I know a Jewish guy. I can't be anti-Semitic.
What are you, Roy Moore?
Right, exactly.
I would have to say, as far as 80s go, I like the Perfect Strangers theme song. It's like the power ballad of 80s theme songs. The Growing Pains theme song.
Yeah.
I like that. Different Strokes.
Different Strokes was one. Golden Girls was great.
Although that was a song.
Golden Girls was great.
That was a hit song before it became the theme song. The Golden
Well, so
Girls.
was Cheers. Cheers was a real song.
But that was written for the show.
No, it was a real song before that.
Okay.
And and if you're talking original songs that were incorporated, Booze and Buddies.
Yeah,
was
well,
great.
that right.
Booze and Buddies was just really, really. That.
I don't care what you say.
And see,
I do want to say that maybe a runner-up would be just the guy who sings those Full House and Family Matters theme songs. It's a rare condition. This day and age.
Wait a minute. Wait. How are we missing? This is the theme to Gary's show. How do you like it so far? Gary called me up the other day.
I'm almost halfway finished. How do you like it so far? This is the theme to Gary Shan. But I think every theme song maybe would sound a little bit better if they were sung by the guy from Full House Family Matters. This is the theme to Gary Show. The theme to Gary Show. Gary called me up.
I had a friend in L.A. going back to the early 90s. His band did a really great grunge version of the Mary Tyler Moore song. And it's a good song, They're gone. They generally don't exist anymore.
I think Schitt's Creek is like a fart noise. I think
it's really that all.
No, it's like five notes or something. Yeah.
Same with, and I love the Good Place.
Right.
And it does. It just has this little 8-second probably musical interlude coming in and out.
Yeah, it's like a clarinet or something. It's like.
But it was. Theme songs were such an essential part, of setting up the premise and the opening credits and all that stuff. Now they just opening credits were a big deal. Now it's just as the credits just kind of scroll as the opening, the cold open goes, or after the cold open, like the hard intro. But yeah, it's so
it's a rare condition this day and age to hear any theme songs.
We already just did it. We were talking about it when I was like, Joe's boys are over and his management has a house to herself. I'm like, she must be, no rush getting out of here, and then I forget exactly how you segued.
I said she's just chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, and maybe shooting some b-ball after school.
And down the road to, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air we went.
Uh-huh.
Happily.
Yes, one of the few rapped theme songs.
So no, that was fun. All right, well, I think that wraps up this episode.
I just didn't want to talk about Trump.
No. Well, we have been talking, about some of our favorite musical interludes, but this week in the shitty of Boston, the music died.
WAAF. The Real Rock. Was it called The Real Rock or something?
The Rock of Boston. Or was that BCN?
BCN was The Rock of Boston.
So, a lot of our friends live in L.A., but are from all over the place. Truly, up through the mid-'90s, Boston and L.A. were definitely L.A., but, Boston, more than a lot of cities you would think, more than bigger cities you would think, were the birthplace of the rock station. Like BCN was gigantic. I mean, the morning show on BCN with a guy named Charles Lackadera was, internationally famous before there was international fame for that kind of stuff. And WAAF, literally the last 30 years, has been such a huge staple in the rock world. Like their hosts are gigantic. The famous Bruin, brawler from the mid 80s through the early 90s. Was the host for the last 20 years.
Oh God, what's his name? Come on, man.
Right.
His name's right there. His name is.
And they were, and WAAF was huge. Like their international claim to fame. I think they started, and I'm not saying. I'm just going to say what they did. It was called Whip It Out Wednesday, where it started, I think.
Well, wasn't that Open Anthony? Whip 'em Out Wednesdays? It was WOW. And you put a bumper sticker on the side of your car, and then they'd send somebody out with a WOW van. And
flashed them.
If you were a woman and they liked your breastises, they would honk at you. And then, if you whipped them out, you didn't win anything. And it's radio. So it's but it's all about getting the interactivity from the audience, and it was all usually done on the highways or, some dangerous place where you probably shouldn't flash your tits.
But yeah, I mean, AAF was just absolutely huge. And over the last 10 years, 15 years, station by station has gone away. It's all the syndicated stuff. BCN has become, the sports hub, sports radio. And now AAF became a Christian rock channel.
Yeah, because, real rock is dead, but it has risen again.
Is that what it is?
And now it's risen. And 3 days later, it rises up as Christian rock. So, yeah, you know what? Honestly, I haven't listened to terrestrial radio in so long since I've bought satellite. Right. Yeah. I mean, really, when Howard Stern left the airwaves, he carried a lot of those. It's funny because when he came on and did syndication in all these markets, including BCN,
he was the one that bumped Lackadera off the air.
He bumped Lackadera off, but he also brought up the market share of the listenership. He carried, his show carried the rest of the day for those stations. So you could have the afternoon guys and the drive time guys. They had a humongous lead in with the Howard Stern show, and then when he left. He just left a crater, and then you had the David Lee Roths and Adam Carollas and trying to fill the void.
Somebody. So the morning guys on 98.5 the Sports Hub about a year or so ago, and I think they got a cease and desist because the people who own the station have buried the David Lee Roth tapes, burnt them.
Oh, that's WBCN.
Right. But the guys on the Sports Hub found the David Lee Roth morning show tapes and started playing them, and they actually had like an audition tape.
I forget how many months that
Dude,
was.
it's
brutal.
I cannot describe. Like, I'd rather sit here and talk about like the consistency of a dog diuretic crap on a brand new white carpet than I would talk about David Lee Roth.
He would bring in like his uncle at some point, and then I remember because the Howard Stern show was fascinated with David Lee Roth taking over literally his old studio, and they would follow him after the first couple of months. It's like, what are they doing over there? And they still had a communication with the general manager from the radio station. And it's like, yeah, he wants to bring in palm trees into the studio, like literal like palm trees. And it's just like, and sand, or I think he wanted, yeah. So he was a strange guy. And I don't know what people were thinking. This is when executives do really wrong when they're trying to meddle with creative processes, like, cultivating an audience from the ground up again. Anyways, good luck with AAF. They'll do well. Christian rock. It's perfect. It's like, that's like the QVC of music.
Right. But you think in the Boston market, it's still such a vibrant music scene.
But it's also like a Christian scene. Who would have... Okay, 20 years ago, if I were to tell you that not only would we have one country music station in Boston, but 3.
Do we really?
2 or 3, yeah.
I could,
Yeah. And they're huge.
Right.
They're huge. Country.
Well, it's funny, the same thing in Los Angeles. Everybody thinks that the K-Rock is the gold standard, and it's huge. There's K-Rock, and then there's the other one that the guy who owns E. Who's the guy from E who hosts all the shows? Short guy.
Andy Cohen?
No, the American Idol. Host.
Ryan Seacrest?
Right. No, he has 10 shows. 20 shows on.
Yes.
He created half their shows the last 20 years. Literally.
Yeah. He does American Top 40.
But I forget what station in LA he was on.
Oh, right. I think it was, yeah, right.
Both those stations were gigantic. They were number 3 and 4 behind 2 Latino stations.
Wasn't it Kiss out
there? Yeah, it is. It's Kiss also out there. You're right. So it's Kiss and K-Rock out there, but dwarfed. And it's funny because unless you wouldn't know. And I remember I did a event with NASCAR out in Fontucky, California, and Rat played from 10 to 11 or 11 to noon, and they packed it. It was this interesting thing. Biff came with us, but before that, it was, and I don't know, a mariachi band that is big on and they had just as many people from the hour before. They played 9 to 10, and then Rat played 11 to 12, something like that. And it was just a completely different demographic, but they had the backdrop of that radio station and stuff. And it's man, it's just funny to think that Christian rock would do that well here. But I will say, when the wife and I would come back from LA, we always joked, AAF, around for 40 years, their playlist stops around 98, 99.
Because that's when rock music stopped.
Right.
The Papa Roach era.
Right. They're the one station.
When you had bro rock coming in.
Yep.
Cut my life into pieces.
That's when that was their heyday. And it was Lyndon Byers.
Lyndon Byers.
Lyndon Byers. LB.
Yeah.
See,
when you say LB, I think Limp Bizkit. So which is when rock died.
I think take that cookie and stick it.
I think he was the 6th pallbearer of rock and roll. Fucking Fred Durst.
So, in the comedy world, so Joe has been so gracious. We had a FaceTime session, and was that last night or the night before? Last night.
Last night.
Trying to polish material. It was hilarious. It was. I do wish we would Facebook Live or stream some of our stuff. It was really funny of how great Joe is making me realize how unfunny I am, and I mean that in the absolute best sense of the word. He is the gatekeeper of, okay, that could suck, and that one can really suck.
Right. You may be court-martialed for that joke. So at least I can tell you where your joke structure is falling apart, like where your load-bearing words are. You know, like that's funny, that's not funny. I
don't think you said the first part very much at all.
Well,
but it'd be
guilty,
funny.
yeah, that's true.
I'd be like, okay, well, here's the setup, and I'd be halfway through describing the joke. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to put that in the no pile over here.
Well, I mean, you know.
No, I mean it in a great way.
I mean, do you have to use the word bitch in every single joke?
Dude, I'm trying to wean myself off saying cunt all the time. I'm using, what do they use to step down from heroin?
Nicorette? From heroin. A methadone?
Methadone, right. Yeah. If I was a smoker, I'd be going to Chantix.
Yeah, right.
Because of Chris Elliott.
Wig me.
So, and I did. I put it on the rundown here. It was akin to, was comedy camp in 98? Or 96? When I came home that summer and we literally sequestered ourselves in Steve's house.
2 weeks.
It was. I moved to LA, and it was the first summer. The second summer, I came back, and our great friend Steve, his parents lived near the station where we did for like 3 or 4 days. We didn't do anything except write, and I think we wrote something like 30 skits, and then over the next 3 or 4 days, we shot maybe 20 of them.
Yep.
And then and it was, I think I came home for 2 weeks. I saw my family collectively for about 4 hours, and they were really pissed, but that was one of the most fun 2 weeks I had. It was awesome.
You know, you hear stories of like, you know, classic movie comedy writers who, you know, they do like they go to their, like one of their, you know, cabins, and they have like a retreat where it's like Carl Reiner and Steve Martin and Carl Gottlieb and all those guys or whatever, and they all get together and, you know, they write The Jerk. You know, we come out and we write, you know,
audio problems and dropout.
Audio problems and dropout. Yeah, the Sketchy Awards.
See, because Joe and I, you know, neither one of, I mean, what you would call tech gurus, aficionados. I mean, we muddled our way
we weren't
through.
Tech savvy,
but we did. We spent 3 or 4 days not doing anything except write. And it was the same process that now it's like, you know, taking turns, like, you know, behind the keyboard. But we did. We must have written about 30. We shot about 20, and then we edited. I forget how many made it onto that, you know, final show. And that was some of the most fun. I'm like, if I could, like, you know, in a perfect world, like when you see old, you know, the vaudeville show or like your show of shows, I mean, that's what it felt like. But we had a crew of us.
Yeah.
And Steve.
And a job of none.
And was that before you took over KB Toys?
I think so. I think I was in between jobs.
You know, but I did. I came home. We did that. It was like, you know, absolutely, you know, so much fun. And so last night, you know, I'm still waiting for this tour to fall apart and not happen. But it's one of those things. If I prepare and it doesn't happen, I'll be bummed. But at least I prepared. If I don't prepare and it happens, then I'll feel like foolish. So.
Like the Boy Scouts are, be prepared.
And molested by... Oh, sorry. that got dark really fast. Speaking of dark comedy, Louis C.K. is coming back to town. Wonder if he'll be promoted on AAF.
Yeah, so good for him. He'll do well.
Will he? Yeah. I mean...
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of people who... there are people in Boston who... shocker, don't give a shit that Louis C.K. did that stuff in front of women.
In fact, there is a segment of the audience out there, not just Boston, everywhere, who are anti-Me Too times up, who are like, and I get that, yeah, there have been some things that you heard. It's like, you know, I won't go down that, but there are some people who think it's swung too far and are support of people who are saying, you know, fuck that. What was interesting?
Well, it's kind of like when the Man Show gained like prominence in the late '90s. That sort of pushback against the Oprahization,
right?
And there was PC stuff. I mean, there was a show on the air called Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher. You know,
pushing back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What happened to that show?
You know, it's still in the air. But it's,
Is it still called Political?
No, it's Real Time with Bill
Real
Maher.
Time, right.
Yeah, but yeah, that's when he made the 9/11 thing. Not so much. ABC was like, we'll see you later.
So we talked last year when Louis C.K. got up unannounced. Was it the Leaning Tower of Pisa and Route 1 in Saugus there that has a little comedy room? It wasn't like, Nick's Comedy Stop. It wasn't one of the big staple comedy places. It was like a second tier.
I think you're right.
And it's funny, the local comedian who I love, her name is Christine Hurley. She went on right after him that night. She was scheduled to be there. He was not. He's friends with the owner, or, I think Lenny Clark or somebody else who was like running the night and let him, go up there. And she got eviscerated in the comedy world, especially by female comics. Like, I can't believe you're working with him. It's like, I was booked to do this show. People came to see me. I wasn't going to screw those people over and walk out. And they were asking her what she thinks. And she's like, everybody deserves a second chance. I do think, and this is what he hasn't done, he has not said that stuff never happened. He kind of just took the, I'm going to go away and wait for it to blow over sort of thing.
Well, he wrote that open letter.
But he hasn't really said, this is really douchey of me. And I shouldn't do these things. It was, and I'm not going to do them any longer. And
you know what? Who knows if he won't do that in the future? Maybe he will
Right.
come around and be contrite and make a real apology, and maybe he'll be accepted into the fold. Things happen.
unless he does what it looked like he was doing last year, is leaning into the going the other way and maybe trying to be a Fox News, appeal to the Fox News crowd. Because the bit that people had recorded that night that put out there is him being awful to the Parkland kids. Say, his whole thing is like, and I'm not going to try to do his voice, but just, picture Louis C.K. saying, you're not interesting. I don't want to hear your opinion. You don't have an opinion just because you hid behind a fat kid, when somebody was shooting up your school. That doesn't make you interesting or entitle you to lecture anybody about anything. It's like, yeah, kind of does, and that's awful, and really, that's your material. And when I hear him, when I'm like scrolling through like iHeart playing the comedy thing, and it has his, he's really funny, and it seems like if he wasn't the kind of guy who was doing that, he'd be really out front making fun of guys who are kind of doing that. It's like a self-awareness that, because he has a self-awareness.
Yeah. He's a great comedy writer. He's just a creep.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
And does it now when that all broke, his daughters were like, under 10, over 5, like in that range. And now it's like they're in their teens. Do you think that changes him at all, or do you think he'd be like compartmentalized? It's like, no, I'm talking the like Bill Barr, loves his wife, protective of his daughter, but
Bill Burr,
but all these other bitches out there,
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we do have to sort of realize that everybody's awful in some way, shape, or form.
Except us.
Oh boy, you wait and see. But it's funny because these comics are putting a version of themselves out there, but it's a heightened performance of themselves. It's like people confuse the real person with the performer all the time. But it's hard to separate that when you're banking your career as a stand-up comic on your personality and selling your unique self and what you want people to perceive yourself as to the world as part of the gimmick. It's like you're not an actor, you're playing yourself, but you're still performing. Right. So it's not that's where the line gets blurry, So when they do something really creepy in their real life, it's harder to divorce that from the performance. Like they can't, like if like Woody Allen.
Perfect example.
Creepy guy. Brilliant director, and people still support him. People still work for him. People, still fund his movies. People, do business with him. And he's been going on for, 30 years since I think, how long has he been married to somebody?
So long, at least 20 years.
Yeah, 20-something years. So, but it's all, it's all watered under the bridge. Some people like have a thing against it, but like not enough people are there to cancel Woody Allen.
And I remember when he won an Academy Award like a couple years after that.
Yeah. Mel Gibson.
Right.
Mel Gibson, one of...
Hey, sweet tits.
Yeah. Mel Gibson had a big, crash and burn thing. And then, he, produced Dunkirk. Wow.
Whatever happened to his dad?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's all relative, maybe in 10 years, Louis C.K. will be fucking receiving the Mark Twain Award, or some Nobel Peace Prize or something like that. But for now, he's got to, I guess, earn his reputation back from the public. And
or go for a different reputation with a different...
Yeah, he'll be on Fox News with, with Bubble Baby over there.
When was the last time he was funny? Was it SNL?
1995, I believe.
Since he left SNL, has he done anything that you found funny?
Oh, yeah. Dennis Miller Live. I actually did a parody of his Dennis Miller Live in one of our iterations of Misty's Kitchen. I liked Dennis Miller Live a lot on HBO in the 90s.
One of my favorite things about Dennis Miller Live, he ended up having the Pixies on as the band for an entire week. It was like the first time that had been done. And he had a bunch of... They were getting...
I'm talking about his weekly HBO show.
I
think he had a CNBC show that was like...
he had a late-night talk show. I forget what it was on.
Right, it might have been on Fox.
I think it was on Fox.
Yeah.
And it was when the Pixies were getting ready to open for U2 on their tour. They were in L.A. They came and played on a Monday. And he so what do you guys do the rest of the week? It's just rehearsing. Oh, you want to rehearse here? You want to come in here any day? And they canceled all the bands the rest of the week. And the Pixies played, if not the whole week, at least 2 or 3 of the next couple of days, which was that was it. But other than that, I'm not,
Not a big deal.
But 95, I think that's pretty much the cutoff when he was funny.
Yeah, that and rock and roll, pretty much. Yeah, right.
So the next thing that died is, no, I shouldn't say that. But I was telling Joe when he got here, it's February vacation this week, and as usual, we took full advantage, almost to the point of abusing the library systems around here because they all have these great, one day acting workshops and artist workshops and different kind of craft things. So the boys did 5, 6 different, and they're always free, and they always have a good time. There was a church in Lowell that we did a couple events at. And looking at the guide for upcoming things, the Wilmington Library, which is the best one, my oldest is going to take an intro to Dungeons and Dragons. So my non-hockey playing, non-watching the Patriots with me son, who has just been bitten by the theater bug, is now going to get into D&D. And I was saying to Joe, I'm going to have to spend this upcoming weekend going to yard sale and flea markets looking for lockers at the house in which to give him a wedgie and stuff him in. Because he's homeschooled, so he won't be getting this abuse in school.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I'm going to really have to make sure he realizes.
You bring the bullying
right into
home.
the front door. What choice do I have, Joe?
I know.
Do I want to do this?
You know what? You have to be the bully that he deserves.
Yeah, not the bully he wants.
All right. Hey, man, that's cool. My kid does D&D, and he's... Wait a minute. Glasses. Skinny. Oh, no. Nerd!
Where does he get it?
Right.
Where does this come from? Why can't he like Star Wars like a normal kid?
Or Weird Al Yankovic.
Right. Seriously.
Oh, these kids today.
Losers. So speaking about losers, and I'm just throwing this in it because it's a funny news story that got, I was scrolling through the feed the other day, and I went and looked up. There's a small town in New Hampshire. There's a lot of small towns in New Hampshire. This is Croydon, Croydon. It had 1 cop. The whole police department was 1 cop. Do you know the story? Yeah. Why don't you take it?
So I guess after decades of service, he's it's literally a 1-horse town, right?
Yep.
He's the 1 cop. I guess the town decided, or a judge or somebody decided.
This the town council.
Yes, they decided that his services were no longer needed. I'm not sure why they let him go. I don't think he knew.
Just budgetary.
Right. Okay. So they just, we can't pay you next week. So unfortunately, you're going to have to turn in your badge and your gun and your vehicle. Oh, and the clothes off your back.
The uniform immediately is
Right.
what he was mandating.
Right. And I don't know. There could be many sides to this story, but the way he tells it is that he had no choice but to take all of his clothes off down to his underwear, every departmental fabric that he was wearing, left it at what used to be his station, and instead of waiting for his wife to come pick him up,
just walked home.
And it was like 10 degrees below zero.
And
or
one
something.
of his friends, it was a town hall, and a couple years ago they tried to cut his pay. He makes like $40,000 a year, but he has the car and the benefits and
the siren.
And they can incorporate, and like the state police can basically like drive through the town. It's one of those towns. It's the highway goes through the town, so there's not a lot of crime, and he doesn't write enough tickets for them. There's not enough traffic coming through to write enough tickets to justify it.
He's done too good a job.
Right. He's cleaned up the town too, but he did. And so I saw an interview with him, and he's like, well, they said immediately, I gave it, and they sat there like, what are you doing? It's like, you said immediately. And he just literally at the town hall meeting, just robed down to his underwear, put his boots back on, and just walked out of there. And, he's an older gentleman because he was a cop like the next town over that's a bigger town for like 30 years, and he was like 25 years here. So he was like a year or two out from retiring probably anyways. And a friend called him, and a couple miles up the road, his wife was like, get in the car.
So is that a boss move or a dick move?
It's a boss move. It's a total boss move. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, if I was... I can't be both.
Yeah, I think it can.
Yeah,
I think it's a boss day.
I mean, think about if you were his wife,
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
that sweet hog in your mouth. Wait a second. Wait a minute.
Wrong with you?
But if you're driving down the road and it's like, wait, is that my husband in his underwear? Get in the car. You forgot your medication again?
These aren't Skittles. So before we get into the awful, let's get into the awesome. This week, after we talked last week how the media has completely written off Elizabeth Warren, even though she finished third in New Hampshire, and third in Iowa, she was still, third, and not like a distant third, but everybody else was getting the attention behind her and all this stuff. And we talked about how it's the same mistake the media's making in 2016, just writing her off. Well, her campaign is back from the dead.
Are you referring to her performance at the latest Democratic debate? So
for her to rise from the grave, she had to swap out one soul for another.
Apparently she didn't hear the memo that what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas. Because man, oh man, did she lay into the newcomer, the new kid in town. There's a new guy in town, and he's getting his asshole reamed by Elizabeth Warren.
Not in the good way.
No.
That sweet hog.
Not that sweet hog. Yeah, there's so many holes that thing can go into. And now you got me down a road that I didn't want to go down. Anyways, Elizabeth Warren. God, I got to
completely kicked ass.
She did. She went right out. Opening statement. And she talks about. Let's talk about the guy who calls women horse-faced lesbians and
billionaire trying to buy his way in. Who calls women,
fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Michael Bloomberg.
No, he was on one side of the stage and she was on the other.
No.
Oh,
he was to her immediate right. Perfect shot. If you, in TV jargon, that's called a two-shot, where you you have two people standing right next to each other. Kind of frames perfectly.
And as she's ascending, you can see him just like the Flintstone when he's like shrinking down when we would yell at him.
Right.
He's that tiny little.
Right. Little Mike became micro Mike. And so then she pressured him on the NDAs that he
that was
had
the best.
That he had his female employees sign. And it was kind of open-ended as to whether these were all women that were signing these NDAs that worked for Bloomberg, or the way he made it out to be, it could be anybody. It could be
men, could be women,
could be
other,
anybody.
yeah.
Other, yeah. Miscellaneous.
I'm looking at when I sign something, it's like take a survey, man, female. There's not a hermaphrodite checkbox there usually.
Hermaphrodite. You're so old, man.
A hermaphrodite. Mm-hmm. Fun fact about hermaphrodites: they're the one species. If you tell them to go fuck themselves,
the easiest fucking joke. That fruit was like on the ground. It was on its way to becoming a new tree. That's how low that hanging fruit was.
Wait, so it's not going in the maybe pile last night? Is that another no?
Right. That's going in the incineration. So, yeah, we'll see. I think actually I saw a response today that Michael Bloomberg said that, going forward, no longer will they even offer an NDA as an like that. They're not even going to.
They're just going to make the bodies disappear.
Right,
going to disappear.
But the pressure's on now for Bloomberg, and Bloomberg's he's got a lot of money, and he's got apparently a vested interest in becoming president of the United States, either to protect his billions or to further feed his ego, or both. What's
great about, and it's true, Mike Bloomberg is running for president. I don't believe because he hates Trump as much as his ads say. I do believe that he doesn't like him in any way. But honestly, I think he's more afraid of Bernie or Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren specifically, because she is really the one politician. And yeah, I've been a hawk for her, since she first started running for Senate here. She was the one person who came in and said, I'm going after the big banks. She went after the big banks. Obama ended up creating a whole department for her to do that. She went after the big banks so hard that Democrats started pulling her aside saying, hey, I kind of get some of my funding from them too. It's like, I'm all for you. In the big banks, that she went after Wells Fargo and made them pay up. She went after different ones. She's the one person who came in and said, yeah, I'm going to do this shit. And did it, even though her own party tried to stop her from doing it. And so if Mike Bloomberg spends $500 million running for president, it would probably cost him twice that in taxes if she becomes president,
or more so, yeah. Right.
And that's what he's afraid of.
And he has $69 billion.
I literally believe that's what it is, that anyway. And she had also said, look, we don't want to swap out their billionaire for ours. I mean, missed opportunity there. She could have at least thrown Mike a lifesaver and said, at least our billionaire is a billionaire. I mean, she could have at least taken that thing. But yeah, it was great. It's composed. Then I heard her on Lawrence O'Donnell the next day. And Lawrence O'Donnell said, look, when we went to commercial, it was a picture-in-picture, and you could see the candidates still on the stage and talking to each other during commercials. Like, right after that, he looked at you, and you guys looked like you had a nice exchange. He asked where I came from and where I grew up, and I told him Oklahoma. We were talking a little bit about Oklahoma, and and then I ended up moving to Wellesley when I was at Harvard, and he grew up in Wellesley, so we were talking a little bit. It was friendly, it was amicable, cordial conversation. Yeah. But she just eviscerated him.
Yeah, and then everybody else was just basically like, "Oh yeah, me too,"
But she was also great with when she. Was talking about her health care plan. And it's like, yeah, I got a comprehensive health plan. My website shows you exactly where the money's going to come from. And it's like, and it was like, Bernie's plan, just can't be implemented. This plan doesn't work. That plan doesn't work. Amy's plan fits in a postage stamp, or a post-it note.
And then to which she replied, well, I take that as a compliment because we invented the post-it note.
In her highlight, Amy Klobuchar's highlight was, Mayor Pete was blasting her because she blanked on the name of the president of Mexico. It's like, we can't all be perfect like you, Pete. And I saw on Twitter somebody put, that's Minnesota speak for, they're never going to find the body.
So that was a feisty debate. But Elizabeth Warren definitely won. I had written her off since the first the caucuses and the primary. I had written Elizabeth Warren off because of the total media blackout of her campaign coverage, and just her. I don't know. The vibe. I don't know. I didn't get the sense that the people around her that were doing her campaign were doing her a solid. Like I thought they were fumbling the ball a lot.
When it was Trump, Bernie, and Hillary, it's like, I remember Media Matters did a big thing, and a couple other people picked up on it that, that for every 10 hours of airtime that Trump got, like Bernie was getting 8 and Hillary was getting 4. But out of the 4 hours Hillary was getting, 75% of that was Benghazi, or the emails or all these other things. It was talking about that. She was literally getting 1/10 of the coverage of BLOTUS was. And it's the same thing. When Elizabeth Warren has made the news in the past 2 months, it's not because she's filling stadiums talking. It's not because, people are, it was the bullshit with the Bernie back and forth. I mean, it was the only negative. And like we said last week, NBC News had posted they had up on the screen the 5 head-to-head, how the other 5 candidates were projected against Trump. She wasn't even there was space. It wasn't like they had to cut it for space.
Right. There was a space that a 6th candidate could possibly fit in.
And
she wasn't there.
She was polling higher than 3 of the 5 on the screen against him head-to-head. And she was 3rd of the 6 in delegates already. It's like, so why did they just decide because she's not a story to leave her out? But anyway, she can't now. She had absolutely nothing to lose. And she had the biggest day of contributions the following morning and stuff like that. So she can't be taken for granted now.
Yeah. Do you think it's just because Warren doesn't fit that sort of narrative that the media kind of tries to do? Is that the billionaire versus billionaire, or Biden's he's sort of like the favorite amongst the central
I honestly
Democrats.
You want me to tell you honestly what I 100% believe it is?
No, don't tell me. It's boring.
I think on one hand, Trump's great for ratings. As much as as much as we hate it, as much as MSNBC and the Rachel Maddow people will be complaining for another 5 years about his administration, it's great for ratings. Elizabeth Warren is going after the billionaires. She's also going after and has gone after, as much as a senator out on an island can go after big corporations, she is going to make the big corporations pay up. The parent companies of NBC, MSNBC, CNN, Fox.
And the pharmaceutical companies that buy a lot of advertising on those platforms.
Right. She's not in this to make friends. She's not in it for the long haul. I mean, she's 70. You know what I mean? It's like she's not thinking about 3 Senate races from now when she's 75, or when she's 85 or something like that. She is literally going to go after him. And I honestly don't think it's conspiracy theory. I think it's in their best interest to have a Joe Biden, a centrist, a Mayor Pete, who they said, what was it last week? It came out when people are like, there's been closeted Republicans that, there's been a lot of gay Republicans who were in the closet. Like Mayor Pete is a closeted Republican. I mean, and the nice way to say that is centrist.
Yeah.
So Joe Biden is kind of down the middle. Mayor Pete is down the middle.
Yeah.
I think Bernie and Elizabeth Warren are on the page for 80% of things, 85% of things. Bernie is a little more left of that, and a little more angry. You know what I mean? He has, but yeah, I think she literally scares.
I think, and
people.
also Bernie has a more passionate base.
Passionate? Is that what we're going to go with?
I'm going to go with passionate.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, as far as if you're talking demographics of viewing audience is concerned, yes, more people are going to be paying attention to what Bernie is doing on the news than Elizabeth Warren is doing on the news. Because you're right, yeah, Elizabeth Warren is not out to make friends in high places. She's out. She's in bucket list mode.
One of the complaints, one of the things, I think it was the first debate. I think they said she lost a lot of people because she was asked. It's like, well, where is this money going to come from? And she answered it in detail and showed her math. It's like, oh, well, she's too smart. Because literally, you don't want to, a woman can't be too smart because that's off-putting. She can be attractive, but she can't be too attractive because she can't be that smart if she's that attractive. And if she's that smart, well, that's kind of off-putting and intimidating. And the same thing, it's like all over Twitter the next day, there was a lot of people saying, oh, she was really mean. If it was Joe Biden, it'd be he's all fired up. If it was Mayor Pete, look at his energy. If it was, even Bernie, it's like, well, Bernie's always yelling. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like because she wasn't yelling. It's the same thing when all the people were testifying and Brett Kavanaugh is literally crying, and here's Fiona Hill being completely composed. You go person by person. It's like, and if a woman said, "Wait, hold on, don't interrupt, let me finish," it was like, oh. She was rude. She was, and yet she persisted. Yeah. That's what Elizabeth Warren has always been facing. And yet she persisted. I told her to get back in the kitchen and make us sandwiches.
Right. Yes. Those slices of bread are not going to be surrounding a piece of meat by themselves.
So get back in there. And so I think, so it's going to be interesting. It's interesting. Nevada has already had more early voting in this primary than the entire primary last time around.
Oh, Nevada? What are the odds?
Right into the propeller. I walked right into the propeller. So that was the interesting thing. Yeah. Now, sadly, a little awful.
Just a little, because we're running long.
Okay. So we did talk last week about when All-Star Tommy and I were talking, and he's like, yeah, but this doesn't affect me. I shouldn't get that upset about these things. And I was saying it really hit home. Yeah, it got to a fever pitch this week, and I won't get into too much detail. But, my sister had an interesting talk with my brother and explained, it's like, yeah, well, that her and I feel this way because of who we're married to and the subsequent. And he was like, oh, he's kind of apolitical, and he's like supporting his son being, and it's not. And he was like, yeah, I can see why you guys would be upset. I get why you would be upset about that. And then this week, it kind of got a little out of control, with a couple things. But like today, last couple days, Blotus has decided to go off on Parasite. And the head of the distribution company for Parasite, like, of course he hates it. Of course he doesn't think we should win. It was subtitled and he can't read. It's like, but we talked about it when they won and how great my wife felt watching people on the Oscar stage, speaking Korean. It was really great. But that whole, where I did that. So, management wanted me to, kind of be, get in the ring with my parents over it. And I get that because it really makes my stomach turn. And I doubt my parents will ever listen to this, and it doesn't matter, but I'm putting it out there anyways. I can't bring myself to putting the parent control on their TV. I literally think it would cause too much of a problem. Like the next big family party when there's 20, 30 people over, I might be able to pull it off because it will be less plausible than when I'm just there.
Safety in numbers. With
the boys. But I did, and I don't really know how Facebook works all that well because I'm not on Facebook. But
you mentioned this last week.
No, I told you because I was telling you on the phone. Nah. I just did it the other day. I made sure that my mom's newsfeed now includes Lawrence O'Donnell, Rachel Maddow, NBC updates, Elizabeth Warren updates. And what my sister did is she had my mom tape the debate for her so she could come over and watch it, kind of forcing my mom to watch it, who doesn't like Elizabeth Warren. We have talked about that, but she was very impressed with, how she, handled herself. It was the first not negative thing she didn't say. It's like, that shirt looks good on you, Joe. It's like, so that was that. With the Parasite thing. So we're being hacked by Russia again. Bernie's people have got the heads up saying they're working for you. Like they are working both sides. It's like, and it's not clear, do they think he's a weaker candidate for Trump? So they're kind of supporting Bernie, and Bernie's been very, adamant saying, yeah, stay out of our election. And when I become president, Putin, I'm going to make sure you stay out of our elections, which I like. But I do want to say we have a hero alert. A couple heroes this week, have actually come. I don't even know if it's a hero, but Joseph McGuire, who's like, head of the intelligence agency, who gave the House intelligence a briefing the other day. That was his job. He didn't wasn't driving to work and say, "Oh, I'm going to detour and just go over to the Senate and talk to the people of the House and tell them, look, Russia's at it again. This is what they're doing. This is how they're doing it." He was sent over there. It's his job to brief them. Blotis was furious and has removed him from the position because he thinks it's unfair to tell the Democrats that Russia's helping him because they're going to use it against him. So he's fired the guy for doing his job in the intelligence community by briefing the intelligence, the bipartisan in the House this week. So
what an asshole.
You know, and you think about it, it's like the Roger Stone conviction. You know, I don't think he's going to spend a day in jail. He's got 3.5 years. I think he gets pardoned before he goes in. But yet, those traitors like Reality Winner is still in jail on a 5-year sentence because she brought to light, hey, they hack these systems in these different places.
Gentlemen, too evil.
It is. It's like they're openly, trying to bury it. The other, I do want to say, the hero. His name is John Crabb. He was the prosecutor who had to fill in for the 4 prosecutors who quit the Stone thing when Barr, demanded that they lower the sentencing recommendation. And in front of the judge was like, "Why was this lowered? Were you part of lowering it?" And he didn't say it was Barr, but he was like, "No, I wasn't okay with this. No, the people who gave the original hearing did their job. They were patriots. They gave the right thing. Well, then why didn't you change it? It wasn't my job to change it." Well, who changed it? It's not my job to say so, but these people who left for just causes, and I don't agree with this. I'm just doing my job delivering what the people upstairs told me to do. But so he wasn't cowering, but I'm surprised he still has a job. It's not, come Monday, he might not by the time this podcast doesn't. But there are some people who are, what's the term I'm looking for, Joe? Like the checks and balances and the judiciary is still hanging on by a thread. But there are people out there who are like, yeah, I'm probably going to get fired for doing my job, but I'm going to do my job.
Great. And I'm glad that Mr. Krabs is coming around because he was such an asshole. You spend it on me, money boy.
Would you do a self-indulgent theater now? Did you get that all lined up?
What? No. What lined up?
I thought you were going to do an Emo Philips thing. I thought that's what you were working on.
Oh, that was the new car theme. I was trying to find a car theme.
All right. Hey, that was fantastic and worth the wait.
Great. Yeah, see? Wasn't stupid?
Do you want to do an Emo Philips self-indulgent theater?
As what?
I don't know.
I don't want to do work on this podcast, ever. What did you want me to do? Well, just tell me. I'm Dancing Monkey here.
You know what? Why don't you do Emo Philips doing what did you lock on? You said, why don't you do Emo Philips doing The Perfect Strangers?
Was it Perfect Strangers? Or do you want to do a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Do the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as Emo Philips.
Okay, very good. In West Philadelphia, born and raised, on the playground is where I spent most of my days. Chilling out, maxing, relaxing all cool, and shooting some b-ball outside of school when a couple of guys, they were up to no good, started making trouble in my neighborhood. I got in one little fight, and my mom got scared and said, "You're moving with your auntie and uncle in Bel-Air." I whistled for a cab, and when it came near, the license plate said fresh, and it had dice in the mirror. If anything, I would say that this cab was rare. But I thought, no, forget it. Yo homes to Bel-Air. I pulled up to the house around 7 or 8, and I yelled to the cabbie, "Yo homes, smell you later." Looked in my kingdom, I was finally there to sit on my throne as the Prince of Bel-Air.
Now, was that so hard? To make me this happy, was it not worth the prompting?
Just, put, George Washington in a washing machine and
take my
go.
Glasses off, and then I'm going to put it back on. So as far as sport goes, very, very quickly, Monday, the day this drops, going to be a somber day maybe in LA. It's their at Staples Center having a function to remember Kobe, and I think it's great. His daughter, they're not overlooking that, so I think and I don't think I talked about this. I think I talked about it with you on the phone. I've talked to a few other people. Don't think I mentioned it on the podcast. A couple weeks ago, I'm on Twitter. It's one night I'm home, and I got like somebody liked something, and I'm like, this was from like a year ago. It's weird when somebody likes something you posted like a year ago. Yeah. And it was a clip from one of the 20 different old school hockey, things I follow, like different hockey card sites and different old clips and like old fight things. And there was a clip that my childhood hero, Richie Dunn, was in. And I liked it. And I'm like, yeah, just, this guy was my hero. I liked him.
And who did he play for?
Well,
come on.
He played for the Buffalo Sabres from 78 to 82.
Yep.
Then spent a year in Calgary. Hated it.
Calgary.
And then, and truly, it's like, this is the early 80s. And I don't think the NHL was 10% American. This is just before the Russians, or just as the Russians started to come over and the Europeans. You could count the number of Europeans on one, maybe two hands in all the NHL. This is back during the original 21-team league. And thank you, Darren Pang. And so it was, there weren't a lot of Americans in the league, and there definitely were not a lot of Americans on Canadian teams. And I know for a fact that still spilled over at least to 2002, 2003, when I had a friend playing on a team in Vancouver. But that's a different story for a different day. So Richie then got traded to Hartford, and he spent the next 4 years with the Hartford Whalers. I like to call them the Hartford Failures. And then he went back and finished his last 4 years with Buffalo. I mean, he lasted nearly a dozen years in a league where careers are a third that time, generally speaking.
So how does he fit into the story about you on Twitter?
So I liked a clip, and so he passed away a few years ago. My family actually tried to find him to come to like my 45th birthday party they were throwing me when I was back. He had passed away a few years ago. Somebody liked something. It turned out to be his son.
Oh.
And then we had a really nice exchange. And up in my office, I have the picture of All-Star Tommy tying up Adam Oates in front of the net while playing for Yale. And Adam Oates, one of my favorite NHL players, was playing for RPI. And I have a framed picture of me and Richie Dunn when one of the summers I spent with him working out, like literally the whole summer. This kid was probably like in diapers, like literally in diapers. And he just was like so touched. Like his dad it's not a household name unless you live in my house. I mean, he lasted 11, 12 years in the NHL, but he was always a second or third string guy. Just consistent, like a consistently well-rounded, kind of a defensive defenseman, but, would score 20, 25 points. Wasn't a fighter per se, but, was probably in 5 or 6 fights a season. I mean, just an average NHL guy, but he lasted that long. Super smart, really well respected. And so I had a bunch of stories, and I'm like, I said, we moved a couple years ago. There's a bin in our shed with a box of stuff I haven't unpacked. I know I have another couple dozen pictures of me and your dad. And if you ever want to, hear some stories about, I explained, it's like, he was a workout partner with my dad. That's how I met him. Your dad's, junior partner or junior buddy, Chris had the gym they worked out, and just, and this is how I knew him. This is how I met him, and I told him how he hated Calgary. I don't know if it ever came up, but he really hated his time there. But it was really nice. I'm never going to get to talk to Richie Dunn. You know, and so it was nice for me to talk to his son about it. It was probably nice that, not only did somebody remember his dad's NHL career, but has every one of his cards during his NHL career again, out in the shed somewhere. So that's my sports story for the week.
That's nice.
My Richie Dunn story. Yeah.
That's a nice
great
story.
Richie Dunn.
That's a nice story.
And he was way too super of a guy. And when he took me under his wing and I would go to the rink with him, I would get to practice like, a lot of the drills that, Taylor and I do when we would go out. We call it the program. I got from, worked out with Richie Dunn. And I would stand across the blue line and take slap shots on the ice to him, which my slap shots at 14 were equivalent of an NHL pass. And it's like to see how good he was. And I mean, wow, could he shoot a puck? I mean, he'd take 100 shots like that, all one-timers. Post, crossbar, top corner, low corner. Like, they have the cutout goalie in the net.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized it's like, okay, he's third line.
Yeah, right.
In the NHL.
In the NHL, yeah.
And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they had pickup, and all the NHL guys who lived in the area, IHL guys at the time, AHL, college kids, anybody could kind of come and do this pickup. And he ran it, and he also ran the locker room. He was the fun guy, and they looked up to. And when you would see what he could do stick handling wise and go end to end and do spin around, I mean, the crazy shit he could do against these guys just fucking around. It's like, okay, I'm really going to be happy if I get to junior B. You know what I mean? He's 6'2", I mean, just like a walking statue.
I like how you look at somebody that and don't get inspired, but immediately defeated. Like, no way am I going to do anything even remotely like that.
Yeah, I'm not a defeated person by nature, right. I mean,
if I work really hard, maybe he'll let me tape up his stick.
That's, and I will say, and all the F&H guys have already heard these stories, but the first time he called, I was so excited. Called my dad and said, "Hey, why don't you bring him, down with playing pickup?" Like, threw him the bag in the car, got to the rink, didn't have a stick. And I'm like, he's like, "Well, here, use one of mine." I'm 5'5", 5'6" at the time, and he's 6'2", and it's a left-handed stick. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, this is a lot bigger, and it's left-handed. And literally, he meets me at the door, and he points to the woods next door, like the forest. Like, he goes, Wayne Gretzky could go in that forest, break off a branch, come in here, and be the best player on the ice. It's the player holding the stick, not the stick the player's holding. And I'm like, oh. I never looked at it the same way again. I also never used anything but a Sherwood 50-30 Featherlight after that, because that's a stick, that he had given me.
In Russia, stick hold you.
And I still have that stick to this day. It's in my mom's attic. I have a stick from downtown.
What's it doing in your mom's attic? I know.
Well, I didn't have a place,
and you still don't have a place, apparently.
Right? Except where you're in my home. What? Right.
All right.
Where it can catch on fire. That's kindling to that little fuck.
That's true.
What are you doing,
You know
Joe?
what? You're right.
But no, it wasn't defeatist to see that. It was, look, I spent the next 6-7 years of my life lifting every day, going to the rink every day, working with him, working out. I mean, I went as far as I could go. And hockey opened doors for me around the world I could have never envisioned. But I was realistic about it. I mean, one thing I did, that's right at the same time, that following falls when I got into martial arts, and I made the decision, if I am going to get further than my skating and shooting ability is going to be, I'm going to have to be a great fucking passer, and that's one skill that I got okay at, and I could fight like a motherfucker. And those are the two skills I'm like, okay, I'm going to be short, so I'm going to model my game after people like, like Ken Linsman, and that's why I love this guy named Mario Lemieux. We'll get into not Mario Lemieux, Claude Lemieux, who's just a dick. And I got really good at baiting better players into taking punches at me and getting them off the ice for 5 minutes for fighting. So, anyways, that's sport. That's
did he play with Over and Unger?
What?
Did Richie Dunn play with Over and Unger? Unger.
Thank you.
Stupid.
He did.
Stupid.
He was defensive partner. I don't know why he didn't go into coaching. He did play. I know that's completely not what you're asking. And thank you for me being that stupid, not picking up on it. Joe Quenneville was his defensive partner. Name doesn't ring a bell for you, but he went on to coach the Chicago Blackhawks to a few Stanley Cups a few years ago.
Wow.
Like I don't know why Richie didn't go into coaching, and I don't know why he died before he hit 60. But
maybe he remembered back to you and got, you know what? I'm just
mean.
Yeah, I'm just not going to be any good. Just like he was not going to be any good when he looked at me. He was de-inspired by you. It's all your fault.
Video games, Joe? Have you played any this week?
What have I played? I guess just more GoldenEye 007 on a Nintendo 64 emulator.
Beat it?
No, I'm on 00 agent mode, which is like the hard level, but I'm cheating because I'm playing it on emulator. I can use save states, which is basically you can take a snapshot of exactly where you are in the game, and if you fuck up, I just hit a button and I immediately start the game over from where I last left the save state. So it's a cheat function. And it's really hard, but I've still yet. I try not to abuse it, but I don't know. In certain levels, I'm just like, man, I don't know how anybody that doesn't have 36 hours straight to do this on their free time. I don't know how they can master this game because it's hard.
So, because usually, since the games come back in the house, it's only on the weekends, except it's February vacation, so he can play like an hour a day if he earns it type thing. So a couple days this week, I told you, like, I couldn't get my information back from 2, but I played it anyways on the normal mode and beat it. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I wish I had the Infinity Knife. It would have taken me an hour and a half to beat it, not an hour and 50 minutes. You know what I mean? But no big deal. And then I threw Resident Evil 7 in there the other day, more as a curiosity to see if I lost all that information, and I hadn't. It was still there. It's like why 2 wasn't there and 7 was, but I got about halfway through that, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I how many times can I, beat this? So
you're growing up.
No, I was just bored.
Yeah.
So I went back to my first love, and I threw in Resident Evil 5. And I did a couple of those challenge stages. I like going online, and if somebody hasn't beaten a level yet, and you can jump in and kind of, carry them to the promised land,
right,
and feel like a hero, and an unsung hero because I don't message with them or I don't friend any requests, and it's nice to get the, you're really great at this.
Who are you?
It's like I'm the Resident Evil 5 player
that you need, not the one you deserve.
So that's it for me. And have you watched anything?
I did. I watched Parasite.
Don't tell me anything about it, but worth all the hoopla.
It's good.
Was it reading it distracting, or do you, after a while, don't even notice you're doing it?
In and out. I mean, I guess like if they're moving through the text fast, like if you're a slow reader, sorry, Tennessee, you can,
that's why they don't like that movie.
Exactly. It's good. I haven't seen the other movies that were nominated. Oh, actually, I do have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that I started and then I fell asleep. So that maybe is a plus.
Ringing endorsement?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe, I guess I got to get it at just the right time. Maybe if Once Upon a Time in Hollywood had subtitles, I might be more into it. Maybe all movies for me need subtitles. It was but it's a good movie. I like it because it shows you South Korea. Right. And they comment on the culture of South Korea. So it's good. It's worth a watch. Again, I can't say I would have voted it for best movie. It didn't blow me away.
It was an Endgame.
Right. And what is, though? What is Endgame?
Infinity War comes close.
Mm-hmm. So what are you watching, sir?
Nothing. Like this week, because the boys have so many things, I literally haven't watched. The debate. Debate's really all I watched.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying that in a cool bragging. I'm so busy to watch.
I don't even own a TV.
All I want. It's all I want. I'm looking forward to getting through like the next 20 years of working so I can do nothing but catch up on the last 20 years of TV.
There's time now.
I'm going to get 3 or 4 extra pair of glasses.
Yeah. I'd get 3 or 4 pairs of eyes just in case that's the way they do it in the future.
That's no, I wish I do. I wish I was watching. But I was just saying that before. I was at that to one of my little guys. I'm like, have we watched anything this week? Have I watched anything this week? He's like, no. He was like really thinking. It's like they went to see the Sonic movie.
And I want to see that. I'm going to see that part with the kids tomorrow.
I kind of.
One of my kids is 20. What's happening?
That's fucked up.
Yes. Let's never speak of it again.
Okay, done.
But yeah, Sonic.
Yeah, they liked it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those movies like. And right now, I'm becoming really cheap in some ways.
Yeah.
And there's just, where did we go? Like a couple weeks ago, we went bowling. I know the boys only have one frame in them. That's it. One game, not one frame, one game. And so we went in there, and it was $6 to rent the shoes. It was like $8 each to bowl.
Yeah.
And then $6 to rent the shoes. And management was like, we don't do this stuff. Come on, we're here as a family. And I'm like, I'm going to have those shoes on. To do the 10 frames, it's going to take me a minute or 30 seconds each frame. I will have the shoes on my feet for 10 minutes of use.
I like how you're getting like the miles per gallon out of
right. But that's the thing. It's like I like, Payless wasn't folded up. I could go and get a pair of Payless shoes and wear them around the house.
Or beat up the nerd in the lane next to you with their shoes.
Now she could kick my ass. She was a nerd, but she looked tough. And I wouldn't. And she was mad that I wouldn't bowl. And I'm like, if we were going to bowl here for 3 or 4 hours, if we were here with a few couples and it was going to be fun and have a few drinks, I paid the $6 to put the fucking shoes on. I couldn't bring myself to do that. And it's the same thing. It's like Endgame. Yeah, I'll go see that 4 or 5 times in the theater. Like Sonic, I can wait. And I know I'm going to buy it. It's not like, I'm going to wait for it to Redbox. As soon as it's out on digital, I know I'll get it. The boys will watch it 20 times. And the per view, it's like, I'll get it, I'll watch it, you'll watch it again at home. It's like, I can't spend like $15 to see a movie I may or may not fall asleep,
I've yet to see
it.
The Rise of Skywalker, and I'll probably wait till it comes out on digital or Disney Plus or whatever the fuck it is.
It will come out digital first, because the boys are upset that Frozen 2 isn't out yet. And I'm like, why doesn't Disney Plus have it? I said, well, they won't have it. They'll wait a month for dumb people to have to go and buy it the day on DVD or Blu-ray and all that stuff. And then you can buy it digitally. Mm-hmm. They won't put it out. But yeah, I mean, Rise of Skywalker should be on Disney Plus pretty soon. But I'll buy it anyway. The day it comes out, I'll call you and say, hey, it's up there.
Uh-huh.
Now I just want to talk about Rise of Skywalker for a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Parenting tip.
Gee. Can I do my Emo Philips again?
I would. What kind of parent do you think Emo Philips is?
I would say a neglectful one.
Do you think? Because he was married for a while. I know we've talked about this. To Junie Tenuta.
Nope.
No, he wasn't.
No, it was Junie Tenuta.
Tenuta, that's what I meant. Can you imagine them at a parent-teacher conference? Like their little kid is, it is my parents, seeing a second, third grader, and those two walk in.
Right.
How do you think that goes?
How you doing, pig?
I don't think we're getting the most education out of him.
Maybe it's a problem at home. It's my Junie Tenuta.
And I quote.
I saw a clip of her doing the Daily Show from was it the Daily Show or the short attention span theater?
Oh, that was great.
From the early 90s. And it was like rare form like Junie Tenuta.
My favorite thing, and I quote this all the time. This is how old the routine is. She's talking about she got stuck on the smoking section of a plane. And she's like, and this guy next to me lights up a cigar the size of God's ego. And I've used the expression, the size of God's ego, with a number, like, not a daily thing, but I don't think a week has passed in the last 30 years. But that's how old that bit is.
I also remember when they did a behind the music, this is like late 90s, of Weird Al Yankovic. And Junie Tenuta was friends with Weird Al. So she's doing one of those testimonials about Al's love life. And it's like I wouldn't say that he's dating women as more as blonde mattresses.
But those two are just, and again,
Who's more volatile, Emo and Junie Tenuta or Roseanne and Tom Arnold?
Oh, I thought the pitch was. Roseanne was she? Did she get? Was it 20 years of drug and alcohol abuse on top of the 20 years before when she first came out? You know what I mean? It's like, was she always that, or was it just? At 25 years of.
Well, she was Roseanne Barr. She was married, right? I don't know, dude. This is what are we talking about? I'm trying to get off a parenting tip. What's your parenting tip?
So today was a big day around here. It was time. It was time now. We've fought the good fight as long as we could, but we held out until necessity dictated. We got our oldest kid a phone.
Welcome.
And
welcome to the jungle.
And as much as like we've limited screens more, and I've stole some parenting advice from our good friend Taylor at the store, and I've said it in the past. And at the store with management and him there, I said, and I used the legal terms that he told his kid. I think when his kid was about 12, when he got his first phone, it's like there is no presumption of what is the word?
Privacy.
Privacy. Thank you. I will check your texts. I will see when you're emailing. I will monitor when you're online. I have the passcodes to everything. So if you delete something, I'm still going to be able to check your history, to check what was sent.
Yeah.
I will be doing that on a complete, regular, almost daily basis. This is a tool, not a toy. But there's been a bunch of times now that he's doing his different theater groups and now that he's doing different activities. And today was one of those days. It's like the first time in Lowell, they have this big winter fest. And one of his buddies from the play at school said, hey, why don't you meet us? We're going to go to Winterfest. I've no desire to. And it's on one hand, it's like, it's nice that I dropped him off. Call me when you want to get picked up. And he doesn't have to borrow a friend's phone or, I didn't say, well, whose parents are you going
Which
to?
one of these buttons do you push to have your mother pick you up?
So that was it. It's like, my parenting tip is hold on as long as you can, but when it becomes a necessity, get it. But make sure they fucking know you're going to be looking over their shoulder every goddamn second.
And in his contacts, you're labeled as NSA.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it does. It has all the tracking software. So, you know what I mean? You can't get away. You can run, but you can't fucking hide. So, and it also, as a good parenting tip, it gives me something else to take away from him. So, I'll wait a couple weeks until he's really used to texting his friends and kind of using it more and more dependent on it. And then I'll strip it away. Like
his ringtone for you is every breath you take.
Yeah. No, close. There's another, police song written by Annie Sumner. So I think that was his. It's like, every girl I go out with becomes my mother in the end. It's more angst ridden and overlord won't let me just be me and is just squashing every dream and hope I've ever had. So that's my parenting tip of the week. Good night, America.
Hey-o. Well, that's a fun podcast if I ever heard one, and I haven't. Apparently. No, all right. So thanks for listening to Carnival Personnel, whatever the hell this is called. Are we still on? Is anybody out there? Knock once if you're listening. Knock twice if we should stop talking. Okay. The people have spoken. I'm just joshing you, everybody. We'll be back next week with lots more love and laughter. It's a rare condition of this day and age. If I ever end this podcast normally, I gotta do something really autistic and dumb. Autism's just funny, isn't it? Hey, you know what? Maybe next podcast I'll just talk like the guy who sings the Full House theme.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you'll take it. You'll like it like that sweet hug. Anyway. Good night, everybody, and don't forget.
We were fighting for your virtue when you fell upon my soul. And I asked you if I'd hurt you. You said I could have hurt some more. Deep inside, we both know you're half crazy. And I may have been the one who drove you nuts. So, I guess we'll call it love. You were pleading to his honor as the grounds of my defense. You offered up my alibi. He said he came and went. Deep inside, we both know you're half crazy. And I may have been the one who drove you we'll call it love. Deep inside, we both know you're half crazy. I may have found the one who drove you nuts, so I guess we'll call it love. I was swearing my devotion, thought I'd love you till I die. You said I'd make a lovely widow, dear, but an unconvincing bride. Deep inside, we both know you're half crazy. I may have found the one who drove you nuts, so I guess we'll call it love. Deep inside, we both know you're